Good morning and welcome to another edition of The Morning After. This is yours truly, Alan Hollander, here on Friday, February the 7th, 2014. And as I gaze out the weather window here on the shores of the lake, beautiful Lake Okanagan, we indeed are having snow and a temperature of minus 11 here in Peachland, British Columbia, for those of you around the world that are listening. And you can check out this beautiful part of the world by going to our Peachland Radio Waves newspaper, and there's a link there to our tourism office. I'm sure they'd love to know that you're checking us out. Of course, this is a summer, it's a mecca for summer visitors in British Columbia. This place just absolutely transforms from May on, which incidentally is around the time we're going to be launching our community aspect of the radio station with the Chamber of Commerce, the district, and as well as the tourism office. So it'll be a big weekend, May the 17th, a Victoria Day weekend. Saturday, May 17th is our launch, and then the World of Wheels, which about 10,000 visitors come in for that weekend. It's pretty impressive. I think those are the numbers. I'm not sure this will be my first summer, but it'll be a very enjoyable, a great Victoria Day weekend. So if you're planning ahead, that's what's happening. And based on that, I thought I would cover some of the local news first here in Peachland. There's actually an interesting rare books roadshow that's coming to Peachland. So if you've got some rare books squirreled away and you want to find out if they're perhaps worth more than the paper they're printed on, you might want to check out or circle this date on your calendar, Tuesday, February the 11th, when the first and hopefully annual Rare Books Roadshow will take place at the Peachland Library. Hosted by the Friends of the Peachland Library and their contribution to this year's annual Hearts Festival, the event is to take on the popular PBS series Antiques Roadshow. In the PBS series, people bring what they think might be valuable objects to have them assessed by experts, often to surprising outcomes. So the Peachland Roadshow will bring in local book aficionado Chris Scowen, and Chris is a member of our Rotary as well here in Peachland, and Chris is a former Friends of the Peachland Library president. He's quick to note that he is certainly not an expert on book appraisals, but he is, however, knowledgeable and well read, and has a wide appreciation of just what might prove to be an undiscovered treasure. So he's willing to provide a preliminary assessment of a book and recommend further evaluation as required. The Rare Books Roadshow follows in the tradition of the PBS program in that it limits the number of books people can have assessed to 3. The Friends ask participants to respect this 3-book limit, giving more people time for Chris's assessment. The Friends of the Peachland Library are a group of book-loving volunteers who are committed to raising funds for the library, specifically for activities and purchases that fall outside regular Okanagan Regional Library funding, or which are only partially funded, such as the Children's Summer Reading Program, and for items like the fireplace and reading chairs. As importantly, the Friends host events such as the Rare Books Roadshow and author readings to enhance and raise the library's profile. So you can join Chris and the Friends of the Peachland Library for this free, entertaining, and educational evening. Light refreshments will be served, and the Rare Books Roadshow will take place at the Peachland Library on Tuesday, February the 11th, from 7 to 8 p.m. So that's what's happening with the library. Also wanted to mention that, of course, our first corporate partner sponsor was Valley First, and they just also contributed a recent donation as well. And our good friend Marion Henselwood was at the Valley First Credit Union here in Peachland, and she was pictured with the Wellness Center board president Judy Wiper in a recent photo op. And the Wellness Center volunteer drivers use their own vehicles to drive people to appointments, shops, and social and recreational events. There is a suggested driver reimbursement fee depending on distance and the number of stops. However, through a new partnership, Clients of Valley First Credit Union can have their banking trips paid for beginning in March when the local branch relocates to West Kelowna. The riders must be registered with the Wellness Center. And Marion presented a check to Judy Wiper for $1,000, a $1,000 donation to the Peachland Wellness Center. And a good friend of ours who has just recently submitted his letter of resignation as the Chamber President, Rob Campbell, has resigned from the Chamber. A new business opportunity has led Rob, who was the president of the Chamber, to resign from his leadership role on the Charter Board. Rob Campbell, of course, he's served as the president of the Chamber for nearly 6 years. He offered his resignation to the board last week. And following Campbell's resignation, the Chamber Board of Directors voted and accepted Patrick Van Menzel as the interim president until the membership elects a new board in May. As well, both Dave Collins and Trevor Neidl, I hope I'm pronouncing, Trevor, your name properly, Naidi, I think it's Naidi, Trevor Naidi, have been appointed by the board to fill the vice president position, replacing Gabby Haas, who stepped down back in December. And Rob Campbell was quoted as saying, "I think there are other people that have joined our board, and there are some new people coming along that have some great ideas and leadership skills, and I think it's time for somebody else to take the reins and run with it and see where they can take the Chamber. If they can get it to the next level, that's great." Campbell says he'll stay on for a while as past president as an advisory role and will remain available as a resource through the transition. Campbell's new business operates as the Canadian distribution arm for an Australian manufacturer of specialty lighting, which keeps him out of town often enough that it became no longer possible to continue his role with the Chamber. Rob Campbell came to Peachland semi-retired in March 2008. Soon after, Campbell and his wife joined the Chamber, and he quickly grew to lead the organization. When I saw what was going on at the Chamber, I realized they needed some help, so I joined the board in July of 2008, and at that point, the Chamber was pretty well in collapse. It was kind of running loosey-goosey. The organization was there, but there was no substance to it, Campbell said. It was pretty obvious it was lacking some leadership. So in October of 2008, only a matter of months after Campbell joined the board, he was appointed interim president. Later at the May 2009 annual general meeting, Campbell was elected president by the membership and continued to be re-elected each year. This is not typical for a chamber to have a president be president for more than 2 years. Most presidents will rotate, but there wasn't really anybody that wanted to step up and take the job because it is a huge time commitment. If you look at the amount of volunteer time I've put into the chamber over the last 6 years, it is a huge amount of time. Compared to most other chambers, Campbell's situation was unique in that most of the other chamber presidents run businesses and only have a limited amount of time to contribute to the organization. Those other chambers usually have more than one staff. We only have one staff member, so it meant that there was a lot more of my personal involvement, and I had the time. And if you have the time, it is by natural osmosis that you end up working that time. And that's fairly typical of what happens in Peachland. Over the past 6 years, Rob Campbell has focused on a number of key areas to help move the organization forward. So that's the news, the up-to-date news here in Peachland, and I just wanted to. Well, there was an article here that I was looking for. I can't seem to find it. Anyways, I think you're up to date. By the way, all the events that are happening in Peachland, Fran Gouvier, our community reporter, local community reporter, community events reporter for both Peachland and West Kelowna. Her commentary, her report appears in the Peachland Radio View every day, so you can have a look and see what's happening in Peachland. So once again, covering the weather, it's a minus 11 degrees. There's a light snow falling right now. I'm not sure that we predicted that today, but it's happening. Today we're going to reach a high of minus 4, and overnight tonight it's going to dip down to minus 14. And there's a little light at the end of the tunnel to this cold weather. Tomorrow it's going to be minus 2 during the day and minus 13 at night. And then the last blast, I think, is Sunday, minus 11 overnight, minus 4 for a high. Because on Monday the temperature is going to creep up to 0 for a daytime high, minus 8 for an overnight low. So we might be out of out of the woods by the beginning of next week. Let's hope, anyways. All right, that's our news from on the local scene. Turning to the international front, here's some of the events that happened overnight. Of course, the U.S. Transportation Security Administration is temporarily banning carry-on liquids, aerosols, gels, and powders on flights between Russia and the U.S. This was announced by Homeland Security. The items can be packed in checked luggage, said the official with the department. The TSA's parent agency, ABC, originally reported the ban. The United States issued a warning on Wednesday to airports and to some airlines flying to Russia for the Olympics to watch for toothpaste tubes that could hold ingredients to make a bomb on board a plane. Russian forces are on high alert to head off possible militant attacks at the Winter Olympic Games, which of course begins today in Sochi. Actually, we call these Putin's games. Everybody knows that, but we won't go into that today. We're just going to report on the news. Well, here's something interesting. I guess if they say you are the company you keep, I don't know whether this is going to apply, but it's been quite the year for Stephen Harper. He's, one of his friends, Rob Ford, who he supported, has fallen into, shall we say, the dark side of things over this past year. Stephen Harper, of course, supported him in his election. He has supported Stephen Harper. Jim Flaherty even was a family friend. Anyways, there's Rob Ford, and then, of course, all the scandal, the Senate scandal, and the arrests of Patrick Brazeau and a number of other people. And then the list goes on and on, the people that have been connected to the Prime Minister in one way or another. Well, here's somebody that's directly related to the Prime Minister. He played in his band, you know, and it can't get any closer than that. Philip Nolan, the drummer in Stephen Harper's band, charged with sexual assault. Ottawa police have charged a 43-year-old public school teacher, who is also the drummer in Prime Minister Stephen Harper's band, with sexually assaulting 2 girls. Police say Philip Nolan has been charged with 5 counts each of sexual assault, sexual interference, and sexual exploitation in connection with alleged incidents while Nolan was teaching at a school in the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. Now, the assaults occurred between 1998 and the year 2000. Even though none of the allegations have been proven in court, I mean, that's all during the time that he was with Stephen Harper in the band. Oh, well, there we go. We won't go into, this is not going to be a morning to talk about our dishonorable Prime Minister, all right? Just simply to report. I just feel like reporting the news this morning. That's it. So there we have it. And what else happened overnight while you were sleeping? There was a suspected heroin bust at the Calgary airport, which signals there's a drug crisis. Well, we knew that, but it's on the rise. Canada Border Service Agency found 6.7 kilograms of what's believed to be heroin hidden beneath false bottoms of 2 pieces of luggage arriving on a flight from London. And they believe that they've uncovered a sophisticated heroin smuggling operation following this major bust. And also, Philip Seymour Hoffman's autopsy has been inconclusive. And tests will be needed to determine what actually caused his death. This is interesting. The City Medical Examiner's Office was looking into it yesterday. Medical Examiner spokesperson Julie Bolker said there was no timetable for the autopsy to be finished. She declined to discuss the pending tests, but toxology and tissue tests are typically done in such cases. While awaiting the official findings on the cause and manner of the Academy Award-winning actor's death, police have been investigating a suspected drug overdose. I mean, we all thought it was due to an overdose of heroin. He was, of course, Hoffman was 46, found dead Sunday with a needle in his arm, and tests found heroin in samples from at least 50 packets in his apartment in Manhattan's Greenwich Village. Law enforcement officials also have been testing whether the drug was mixed or tainted with anything else. They found unused syringes, a charged spoon, various prescription medications, a drug used to treat heroin addiction, blood pressure medication, and a muscle relaxant. Wow, there's a toxic combination if I ever heard one. Wow. Well, we don't need to go into that any further. So, what else was interesting? It's been all about the Olympics anyways. Today is the official start, the ceremonies. I came across this travel alert just in closing about the Olympics. I didn't realize this. I don't know how many of you realize that if you travel to Sochi, the ring of steel, as they call it, around the Olympic Village, yes, it protects everyone in that village, their family, their athletes, from anything that might happen to them untowards. But it doesn't protect you if you go outside of that ring. In other words, there was an updated travel warning, January 30th, okay, that said when you're making your plans for the Sochi Games, and there's by the way, there is the Paralympic Winter Games as well, which is following. But at any rate, she said that this came from the government. The Honorable Lynn Yelich, Minister of State, Foreign Affairs. We continue to advise all Canadians traveling to the 2014 Winter Games to take sensible precautions and maintain a high level of vigilance at all times and in all places. Although consular services will be available on the ground, individual travelers need to take responsibility for their own safety. In order for Canadians to stay well informed about the risks, we strongly urge all those traveling to the Games to visit our website for the latest information and register with Canadians Abroad. Registration of Canadians Abroad updates are also available on Facebook. She mentioned that the game will be held. The host country, Russia, is only responsible for the safety of all athletes, teams, and visitors. The Canadian government and its agencies are working with the appropriate Russian government agencies as well as with like-minded allies to provide the safest and most secure environment possible. But the bottom line here, folks, is that if you go there and you wander outside and decide to go shopping downtown or something, or move away from the village itself, and something happens to you, you're kidnapped or you are hurt in some way, the Canadian government is not responsible. So just know that, and that's kind of the message there, very clear. All right, another item that showed up last night, quite surprisingly, with respect to the oil sands in Alberta, that now the federal government is investigating. This just broke yesterday, overnight, in Fort McMurray. The federal government's investigating claims that dozens of Canadian oil sands workers in Alberta were laid off and replaced with temporary foreign workers. More than 60 iron workers say they were let go from their jobs at the Curl mine north of Fort McMurray last week. Vic Nilsson, who worked at the plant since June, said he and his colleagues were told to leave last week with no word as to why. Our jobs have been given away, Nilsson said. We trade our lives to be up here. 14 on and 7 days off. It was a kick in the backside. Nilsson and his co-workers were employed by Pacer Promec Energy Corporation, a contractor for the mining site. Harry Tostawarek with the Iron Workers Union says 40 temporary foreign workers from Croatia have been brought in to fill those jobs. I was just astonished by it. It is morally wrong, he said. Alberta Federation of Labour President Gil McGowan says the Croatian workers are making half the salary of the Canadian workers. An official from Pacer Promec told CBC News the company does not have temporary foreign workers on staff right now, but documents show that in the fall of 2013, the company was trying to bring in workers from Croatia. So could this be the tip of the iceberg? And and this could be happening everywhere. As I told you, we're being impacted by a government that on the one hand is encouraging to bring in workers, temporary foreign workers, and yet is not following along those guidelines. Anyways, I'm going to put a wrap on this for now. I wanted to get the local news in there, more importantly, to talk about what's happening in Peachland. So once again, get out there and enjoy the day as best as you can. The snow is continuing, but it's lighting up right now, lightening up a bit. It's about 9:39 in the morning Pacific time. Don't forget, we're wrapping up our sneak preview week of all our great shows. There's 19 shows to choose from. It's a veritable potpourri, a buffet of music and intelligent conversation, world-class entertainment, and cool jazz. So give us a listen, test drive us. You just go to peachlandradio.com, pick your favorite show, listen. You just click and listen. Then you can move on. You also have the opportunity to listen to the other shows. You can listen to our stream, which goes 24/7, and the shows just continue. Just leave the station on, or you can pick a show and listen as well. They're archived in there. All right, have a great day. We'll see you all on Monday. Don't forget, there's no morning after. We're gone for the weekend. We are only broadcasting to you Monday through Friday, and so we will see you on Monday. So have a great weekend. Enjoy the Olympics if you care to. Bye for now.